Hey, it's Chandler, and I am here with Heather McIntosh, composer of the film Cat Person. We are doing our fireside chats with composers here at the Sundance Film Festival. Heather, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, are you having a good festival?
Yes, a very good festival.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you've been to Sundance a number of times.
Yes.
Can you recount your first experience of Sundance, and how does it kind of relate to this one?
My first was with Craig Zobel's Compliance, and it was my first narrative feature. So it was really special just to be able, the first time coming up here with like a pretty polarizing, fascinating film. And I feel like Cat Person is sort of similar to that, in that it's polarizing and it's exciting to like work on a film that really elicits a bunch of conversation.
Yeah.
And it's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm so proud of Cat Person and what I've read about it so far. I've watched Compliance. I walked out of the theater, to be honest, but I will say that the filmmaking is incredible.
Yeah.
And and the score was incredible, and it was one of those movies I'll never forget. So I'm not angry at Compliance for making me want to leave the theater. I thought it just did an incredible job. So Cat Person also, it has that same energy. That's so cool that, I didn't even make that parallel.
There's a little bit there. It's fascinating,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So being kind of a seasoned Sundance person, what's a piece of advice you'd give to somebody who's coming in for the first time?
To enjoy it. You know, sometimes you can get so wrapped up in like, am I at the right place? Like, what's my value? Like, should I be doing something more for my career? But like, just meeting cool people at bus stops and like getting to talk about the film that you just watched and you've all had the shared experience together. I feel like that's like some of the most special times that you can kind of have at the festival. Like, it is important that hopefully your film gets sold and you know what you're going to do next with your career, but like I feel like it's also equally valuable to just appreciate being around so many creative people and just to have that shared experience is delightful.
Have you made any connections at festivals this or in past where it's kind of been fruitful for you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every single project I have begets something else, but I think that's just the nature of getting to know people and artists and creative folks. But yeah, I mean, pretty much, isn't that how like our careers kind of work? You just meet new people as you like go along your life, and composing is freelance, so networking is kind of a gross word, but like when you really do think about it as like having a creative thing that you want to share with other people and finding other people's creative things that they have, and you get to bump up against each other and magnetize and make new things. Like, I don't know, it's great, like it's one of the actors from Compliance, I ended up scoring his first feature when he did it. I've worked with the editor and the director from Compliance so many times, and I think that I met the editor from Cat Person. I know I did. I met Jacob at the premiere for Compliance. He's good friends with the editor from that film, and I think that was sort of how my name got put into the mix.
Amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I just feel like there's so many versions of that, and just to have that human interaction again is really special.
I bet.
Yeah.
So tell us about Cat Person. What is it about?
It's about dating.
Oh.
It's about dating.
Modern dating?
Modern dating. It's also, I think they start the film out with a Margaret Atwood quote that I might be paraphrasing, but man's biggest fear is that women will make fun of them, and women's biggest fear is that men will kill them. So it's sort of this idea of the fear and anxiety of putting yourself out there and the dynamic of dating in this modern age. So that's what we're working with.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was one of the hardest parts about scoring that kind of topic?
I think a lot of it was just really finding the tone. When I worked with Susanna Fogel, the director, I got this really great playlist that I wasn't sure if it was just sort of informing the energy of the project or if it was more specific, like we're going to use these songs as source in the project. But either way, it sort of got me in the mind. A lot of the pieces of music were like cool, sort of a little bit offbeat, like Lee Hazelwood, sort of classic stuff, but unusual. And so I just knew that there was going to be sort of a wry humor to it, along with sort of whatever thrilling aspects. But when I first started my idea was to score it big. Like I like a big orchestral sound, and when we first started sending off cues, we knew this was going to be more electronic, but there are a lot of really nice organic instruments: cello, harp, whistle was when we figured out whistling. We'll just say we had a lot of shapes to get there, but the trickiest thing was really going from just learning that minimalism, like starting small, like we kept peeling away the layers, like no, this is still too big, it's like taking up too much space, like this is still too big, it's taking up too much space. And so when we got to like our starting point, it really was just like 4 or 5 instruments to start, so that we really left room for the audience to make their own opinions, like about the situation, in the way that the short story that it's based on sort of functions.
Right.
So it's that polarizing, like, who are you with sort of feeling a bit, but also leave room for the humor there. Like if we just slammed music in, it's like you're guiding the audience on how to feel, and that just felt forced. So right. That in combination with a song by Molly Lewis that they ended up using in the opening credits, who's this phenomenal virtuosic whistler. Okay. Like beautiful, like wowie zowie, right. So wonderful. And she's a friend. I've wanted to work with her on stuff in the past, and I was like, I know her. And so we brought her on, and she ended up like being the main, like one of the main lines. And we use it in a really unusual way. It's not really lyrical. It's more like a theremin or sort of a bendy sort of tension. She's still singing beautiful or whistling beautiful melodies, but then occasionally it's just the bending sound. Like sounds real ominous. It leaves a lot of space to just sort of, I don't know, make your own feelings.
Now, does this inspire you to use more whistling in the future?
I mean, yeah, why not? Like, I want to be like the whistle composer. Right. I mean, it's great. I mean, I would love to work with her again. She's amazing. Cool. I don't know if we'll do every project together.
Right, yes.
Just because we like to, I just love getting to do different stuff every time, like getting to explore new sounds and textures, and we really got some cool ones with this one. So
awesome.
Yeah.
What the experimentation process of finding this whistle or in general in projects, how do you allot time for that, or what is kind of your scheduling process? Do you say, okay, today I'm going to experiment with sounds and see what I can create, or does it just kind of come in spur of the moment inspiration?
It's so interesting. I think it works different for every project. I mean, hopefully that process of being open to new, like when you're not in the middle of cramming out a deadline, you're hopefully can treat your writing practice as play. So you're just like, what sounds can I make? Like try to find that joyful space of making where you're actually allowing yourself to like get out of like your regular structure, like hands on the piano, I'm a composer writing things, but be like really find new sounds and shapes with your instrumentation. But it's always so different. It really does. It's project to project. Like this project, I had that playlist, I read the short story, and then I watched it cut fairly early. It was like one of the earlier cuts that they did a friends and family screening for, and went to New York for it. I live in Los Angeles, but during the course of this extended pandemic, I felt like it was really important to work on a project in the same room and to have those conversations about what we want the music to do, not on Zoom, right out of the gate. So I spent some time really just hanging out with the cut and what's working and not working, and just to really have a healthy spotting session to be like, what's in here and what do you like about it, and how can we make choices from that stage, and then just writing on my own.
I'm just wondering, you mentioned the playlist a few times. Is that a method of communication that you appreciate from a director?
Yeah, I feel like anywhere that you can sort of like lean into the director's way of thinking is useful. Like sometimes it's a playlist, sometimes, and you want to have a really good conversation about it. It's like, do you like the instrumentation of this, or does it just make you feel like how you want to feel in the movie? Like it may not be literal. It's like, I didn't riff on Lee Hazelwood, but that song is in the film. Or, sometimes it'll be a lookbook that was originally presented for producers and buyers, or the DP to get an idea of like the visual aspect of the project, and you can just sort of get inside the world. And then a lot of times it's just like, what movies were you into, or what were you listening to when you were writing, if they wrote the script as well. anything that you could sort of just have more points of communication with your collaborators is sort of really useful to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean to you to have films premiere at Sundance? I know you've been to a few, but every time you get that notification of like your film is in, how does that feel?
It's really special to me because I've always thought that Sundance, I mean, as a kid that worked at a video store in the 90s, Sundance is like, it's the real art life. It's the real artists for artists by artists scene, you know. And I applied when the music lab was functioning at Sundance. I applied for that thing 6 or 7 times. Like it was so special to me. I didn't get into until I had 2 films that have been to the festival, you know. So like all of it has just been. I do really feel like it's my family here. So it's a huge honor to be part of such a wonderful international film festival, but it also just feels like, oh, cool, I'll get to see my people and, you know, see people on the street that you haven't seen in a while and catch up. So,
how do you feel since they canceled the Composers Lab?
I hope that we can find some way to create spaces for new composers and up-and-coming film composers intersectionally to be able to practice their craft and take risks and try new things without the budget or a studio like breathing down your neck, and also to just help lift up burgeoning composers, like to find a space. Like it was such a big, like even though I'd sort of established myself as a composer for film, it still was like such a wonderful thing to be in that circle, you know, to be able to say like, and I am an alumni of the, you know, Sundance Institute. So I hope there's something that can function like that, or there's place for that to exist in some other structure of the Institute down the line. I'm going to try to figure it out.
All right.
I know.
Good.
I'm going to figure it out right now. We're going to get on it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me for our Fireside Composer Chat at Sundance Film Festival. And I can't wait to see Cat Person.
Aw, thanks so much, Chandler.
Yeah.
All right.